This is the first installment in a series of webcasts describing the evolution of a project which I'm going to be working on in the next 3 to 4 months. The reason for this webcast and why I'm recording this is because I want to have a historical on what my thoughts were at the time that I was working on this project. The project is a migration of a front-end application, an AngularJS application, to the latest Angular. But that's really an oversimplification. I'm not really only trying to upgrade some libraries to Angular from AngularJS to Angular 10 in this case. What I'm trying to do is something that was built probably 3 years ago and it has evolved through time because it's live and we actually keep improving it, is we want to look at the architecture and we want to improve upon it. What are the things that we can do better if we actually spend some time including upgrading some of the libraries. Let me actually show you the application so that you have a visual. Then I'll show you the architecture and how it was conceptualized and how it is in its current existence. And then I'll show you what the architecture that we're trying to get to. The application is the self-service application for water and sewer, in which you can actually manage different accounts, different water and sewer accounts within your profile. Right? So you can actually switch between different accounts and look at the data. You can enroll or unenroll another account, and then within an account, obviously, you can look at the existing data. You can look at the billing history, payment history. You can update your contact information. You can actually make payments. You can register credit cards and you can make payments within a specific credit card, or you can actually cancel a payment that is for example pending. Also, you can do requests of service requests. For example, you can start service, stop service, transfer service. Do a high bill investigation, pull credit, and there are just a series of workflows or a series of steps. By the way, this environment happens to be integration. That's perhaps why it's that may be a little slower. But that's in a nutshell what this application is. It's a few thousands of lines. I think there is full of features, although I wouldn't say that this is the features themselves are not really too complicated. We're not talking about online video game or anything like that. So, and again, I'm only concentrating on this project is about the migration of the front end portion, right? We also have RESTful services on the back end. We have auth and all that good stuff. So let me walk you through the architecture of the application that you just saw. The application language wise is based on two languages. It's 80% JavaScript, 20% TypeScript. It started as a JavaScript application and it's evolved as AngularJS, or as Angular was going to come out, and they start talking about TypeScript. We also start bringing TypeScript into the game. So the models that are not AngularJS dependent were actually transitioned into JavaScript, and we use this little library which I just put there kind of for fun. It's a little library for schema validation of JSON object, but it actually has worked very well for us, so I think it deserves to be in our little picture. On top of the AngularJS framework, we're in the latest version. We cannot go any higher, which is 1.78. We introduce the UI router. This is actually the website of the UI router. The UI router is, to me, a beautiful library that we have pushed to its limits, and it always has served us very, very well. I don't think there's a single use case in which we have not been able to accomplish what we wanted with the UI router. And then we also, everything's based on, not everything, but I mean it's based on promises. And I guess the reason why I put this here, I'm not sure really if it belongs here, this is the right place to put it, but I guess I just wanted to highlight the fact that also in the migration we want to move from promises to more of a reactive use of using observables. Now, with all those stacks, we built components. We didn't start with components, but as AngularJS evolved, and I believe around Angular 1.5, they introduced components. We also moved our code into our views into components. Then we have our services, which are the the Angular singleton services which are managed through dependency injection. And then we introduce for the data state management this session service. This session service is nothing else than an AngularJS service where we keep our objects that we want to maintain state through the application. And the only trick is really that we have to keep in mind when we use them is that we don't want to overwrite that initial pointer. If you do that and you're careful with that and you don't lose that reference, then as you change the data into your session objects, the components get automatically refreshed, for lack of a better word, meaning from the view standpoint, the data actually changes correctly and it displays the latest data. So on top of obviously components, services, session service, and the models, we actually build the features of our application, which you just saw, right? So service requests, workflows, payments, display of data, and then obviously doing CRUD applications with the data. So what is the migration? The migration is, or what we want to do is we want to accomplish these 5 things that you see on this picture. You don't see anywhere here moving the Angular libraries from Angular 1 to Angular 10. Really, that's not the main purpose. The purpose is actually to look at where the architecture can be improved. So what are the things that we want to do? We want to introduce modularity. We want to be able to build features in modules and take advantage of some of the things, like if we can lazy load those modules. For that, we're going to use Angular modules to accomplish that modularity. The state management, we want to move away from our homegrown session service solution to a mainstream solution that has been built on the open source. Specifically, our winning horse is NGRX. The new layout is going to transition from the old layout of Bootstrap 3 to a new layout based on Bootstrap 4. We want to also give the hooks to provide some mobile-like features, like for example push notifications, one-click installables, offline mode, and for that we're going to make this application a progressive web app. And finally, we are going to bring the idea of an enterprise, how to build an enterprise application that perhaps can encapsulate or can bring all different applications into one single or under the same umbrella. And for that, we're going to introduce the idea of an enterprise monorepo, making use and taking advantage of the amazing job I think that Nrwl and NX has done in order to make this a reality for developers. So we're going to use Nrwl and NX to make use or to introduce this idea of monorepo into this migration. Let me show you now how the architecture will look like when we end up, and those are the thoughts anyways. So here it is in the bottom. We're going to have that monorepo, which is going to hold all these applications. I don't know anything about application 3, I don't know anything about application 2, I don't know if it's going to be, if there are React applications, if there are Angular applications, for example, but I know we're going to give the hooks so that those applications can actually be built under the same, with the same monorepo. Now, our application, the one that I can control, I can tell you things that now that those 5 pillars that I just talked about, how they're going to affect the architecture of my specific application. So one thing is those layers that you saw, the language. The language is going to be unified to be all TypeScript. That is going to simplify the development. The framework is going to be an Angular 10 plus, so Angular 10 or whatever it comes. We'll upgrade it, and specifically we're going to make use of modules or feature modules. For that we're going to take, and with that we're going to take advantage of lazy loading as we hook them into the Angular router. We're also going to bring NGRX as our data state management. That is going to replace our session service, and obviously NGRX brings the known architecture, right, of a store and actions reducers and effects, and on top of those we're going to build components and services within Angular and NGRX and communicating through actions and effects and reducers, and they're going to be on the store. So that's all through observables, and that is going to give that reactive architecture into the application. So with that components on those services and the models, which that is really the part that changes the least, and because remember they were built on TypeScript, we bring them now, and we're still going to keep that TV4 library. I think it's worked well for us, so we're just going to keep that. But with those components, with those services and that model, we're actually going to, feature-wise, we're not adding anything or that we're not we're going to develop the same features. We have to develop the same features, so we're going to have service requests, payments, display of data, and then CRUD actions on the data. But we also want to give hooks to the application so that we can introduce new features. So we're going to make it a progressive web app, which is going to hopefully give us the possibility of new features like push notifications and one-click installables and offline mode or improved performance. So that's this is the idea of what we're going to be working on. This is the first installment in which I just wanted to introduce you of what my application was at, what the current existing architecture is, and what is the new architecture that we want to get to. Thank you.